strong in the Lord. You've heard it in the scriptures today. Be strong in the Lord. And in the power of his might, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, having your loins girded about with truth, having the shield of faith.
Like any man of God in the Bible, God always sends a company or two to serve with him. There are two long-standing and faithful members who have stood with Pastor and witnessed the birthing of ATI and are here today celebrating 14 years serving in this ministry. None other than ministers Ayawlae Wilson and Felicia Wilson. Join us for that interview.
I'm Sister Kathy Risden. You can call me Sister Tisha. And here's another awesome chance to know how it was in the beginning, because we're celebrating 14 years and it wasn't easy. As you heard in the interview with Pastor, it was a challenging moment. And so two individuals that stood by him through thick and thin, all the challenges, trusting his leadership. We're here with them today to hear their experience. And we're going to call it Together in the Vision, a couple's journey with the ministry. And we're here with none other than Minister Felicia Wilson, Minister Ayawlae Wilson. And we're going to just delve right into it. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Sister Tisha.
Awesome. Let's start with your day one story. How did you first get connected with Pastor Williams and the vision for this church? What do you remember about those early days?
All right. So my experience with Pastor, it's a little different from my husband, being that I have known Pastor Demetri Williams before he was a pastor, before he was a youth pastor. Mm-hmm. I knew him since he was Demetri. We connected back in Jamaica, where we're originally from, when we were kids. And at that time, his parents were the pastor of the church, and that's how I get connected with him since those early days. Mm-hmm. Then coming to America, reuniting with them, and at that time, when I came to the church that his father was pastoring at the time, he was the youth president there. So the connection just, everything just reconnected, I should say, and we kept on growing from there. Always have a high respect for him because of how he conduct himself, even as a youth, you know, us growing up and stuff like that. I've watched him just elevate from one stage to the next, and then when it was time for the transition into the big move of now from a youth pastor to becoming a pastor, it was very easy for me to lift that respect because I saw where he was, you know, worthy of it because of how he conducted himself and allow God just to use him and move through him. So it was very easy for me when my husband actually
Not at the time, though. Husband, not at the time, though.
Yes, he was.
He was at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
At the time of pastor becoming a pastor, we were already husband and wife.
Okay.
So, yes, he spoke to me about the Lord, speaking to him about us serving under Pastor Demetri Williams. And for me, it wasn't a tug-of-war. We weren't pulling in two different directions. As I said before, just watching his leadership, the way he, you know, he mentored us and the way he would be so strict and organized and just God-fearing with leading the youth. It was very easy for me as somebody who followed the directives of my husband to say, yes, we will go.
There was no struggle.
No struggle at all.
All right, Minister, could you share your experience, sir?
Mine is a little bit, it's somewhat similar. I'll try to keep it short. I have known him since, I've known Pastor since I've put foot in America. And one of the things that stood out to me most when I just met him was how disciplined he was and is and still is. I've gotten the opportunity to have the experience of knowing, many men who have desire for God on, various levels. However, but there was something just different about him. At that time, I couldn't put my finger on it, you know what I'm saying? But I just, just growing throughout the process and just watching him. Later years in my teens, I get a better understanding of who he was. He had this unwavering groundness about him. It was just different. It's a thing where I've never experienced that on that level where, a young man just having that desire. And, credit to, men around us, because his dad was a pastor back then. But it was just something on another level. You know what I'm saying? Because I was born, raised in the church and everything, but there was something about him that, it captivated you. It made you want to just live for God, serve God, no matter what your intentions were. So, just seeing that, from earlier years and stuff like that, it just kind of bring that bond and that kind of connection, along with some of the things that my wife expressed, just to keep it short.
Yes, so she said something that I want you to elaborate on, and is that you got a message from God or something that confirmed that you were supposed to be under his leadership. Could you expand on that for me, please?
Oh, yes. It's very interesting because prior years, we were in Irvington when the church originally started here. And when we were relocated to New York and everybody, we were all young. He was a youth pastor back then. And we went back to New York. But I don't know, Jersey was just different. This town it wasn't a desirable place. It was a tough place. You come here, it's just different. So we were just always, scared of the whole environment, violence and drugs and all that kind of stuff. You're going through, you wind your windows up. Ain't no windows down, get no cool breeze. Because we saw some crazy stuff here. People stop at stoplight, they would just carjack you right there. So it was crazy, real crazy. So knowing that there wasn't just a natural desire to be here, for any of us, because his journey to understanding it was divinely orchestrated by God. So, being in New York, it's not like we had the intention to say, oh, we're going back to, no. After a while, how I knew it was I started having a series of conviction. And I didn't even say anything to him about it because he was a youth pastor. And I remember one Sunday we were home in New York, Queens, and we were having dinner. And I was there and I was at the table and I couldn't eat. And this heavy conviction just came over me, just something heavy. I couldn't understand it. I didn't want to say anything about it. But it just kept coming more forcefully until it brought me to the point where I went to him and I spoke to him and, he expressed to me that he understands and he's going to pray for me. And you know what I'm saying? And that's where things start happening. And even after that point, it just started getting heavier and heavier. And how I know it was from God, I'm being dead honest with you. I had no desire to, come back to New Jersey or to, I'm being honest, because the place is not somewhere where you say, it's not desirable. It's not the typical neighborhood that, pastors or preachers would say, you know what, let's go do something, or I'm called there. Most people shy away from, communities like that. So I definitely knew it was something divinely orchestrated by God.
Pastor did mention about the area with all the guys from the area sitting on the step of the church. Did you have any experience or encounter with any of them, and how did that go? Because he said he was scared, so I'm sure he was not the only one at that moment in that area. So you tell me your experience with them, just going in and out, seeing them there, knowing that the community is bad, and you have to go to this church because, you know, you made a vow to God that you're going to go. What was your experience with these men?
I mean, it was as real as it sounds. You go in a church, you have to say, excuse me. I remember a couple of them names, Yaya, Day, you know, the typical, you know, because you hear them communicating with each other. So they selling, I don't know what kind of drugs, but I know the substance, and it's just constant flowing going, and you're just watching it in real time, just acting out right in front of you. And we were scared, like we really, you know, you fear for your life because it was real stuff. People got shot, you know, people died. So, you know, it was an experience.
So nobody from the church got hurt, though?
No, nobody from the church. Because after a while, you know, Pastor really, you know, found a way how to really navigate. He used to shy away, to be honest, in the beginning. But after a while, I realized he started warming up. So by him doing that now, we start warming up to them. You know, saying hello, how are you, having small little dialects, nuggets here and there. Yeah. And then after that, they build this, you know, kind of relationship, and it felt, you know.
A bond was built.
Yeah, a little bond was built,
okay.
And then he started out a little thing where cleaning up. So he would go there on Saturday mornings with a leaf blower and start cleaning up the block and stuff, and then he started galvanizing the church, and, you know, we got dumpster and we start cleaning up. So they saw that, and, you know, he established it with them. Like, I'm not here to, you know, go against you, but we're here to just help and to, you know, so.
And that kind of, you know, make it easy. How long did you guys stay in that church? Even though we didn't mention the location on the interview yet, but how long was it before you moved, from the day you started the church to when you guys finally moved? How long was that?
I think it was somewhere 2 to 3 years, if my memory serves me well. Somewhere around there. 2 to 3
years?
It was somewhere around there, right?
Okay.
About two to 3 years.
Question, right? So inside the church, we're gonna go more in detail for people to understand what, because it takes a level of faith to start out how you guys started out. So could you describe the inside of the church? Because I heard you guys use gas stove as the heater, and which was on the platform, the podium which Pastor preached on. Could you describe the inside of the building and how you felt leaving maybe a nicer church to come in, you know, to transition into a little two-family house, trusting the leadership of this young youth pastor who is now migrated to pastor? How was that experience for you? Describe the house and how you felt worshiping in that house.
Well, I'm going to say a little bit and then maybe ask my wife to elaborate. It was very challenging, I'm going to be honest with you, but it felt natural. Some of the things that we went through, but there was just, you know, when you're in a rightful place, like you're aligned with God, even though it may be challenging and it's not the perfect scenario how you'd envision it to be at the beginning, you know, it somewhat felt good because, as you say, we're coming from an environment where, you know, things was established, you know, to a certain degree. And, you know, coming in that place now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say certain things on here, but it was a little crazy because, you know, it was so humbling. We'd go in Sunday morning to have church, and we go find human feces in the place. We have to clean it up, and we had to have church. But we didn't, it's like we had this, you know, something just feel right. Those things still didn't deter us. we saw crazier stuff than that, but it didn't deter us. We had this joy. We didn't have music. He didn't have a pulpit. He had this little, I think it was a little black and white stove he used as a pulpit. And if we get too cold, he had to light the same stove and warm us up, open the oven, light the top. And, he'll be preaching from that pulpit just as he's preaching right now. With the gas stove, before he had a mic. You know what I mean? I can remember once he said he felt so bad, like, sometimes you have the best intentions, and he used to wonder why, we believe in him so much. And I think that was one of the main driving factors for him, seeing, how God have entrusted him, people around him. And that's something, too, that I also really respect about him, because he's not a selfish person. He always extend himself and live that life, because, anybody can start something. Right. But when you see that sense of responsibility that's laid on you, and the decisions that you make now, how it's going to impact other lives around you, right. He could have went off in the sunset, and he was doing pretty good for himself. He didn't have to take on all that burden and, answer to all of that. So I'll maybe leave a little bit for my wife.
Yes. Go on, Sister Phil. What was your experience as a woman, dressing up nice, going to this church with gas stove being a heater? Tell us about that.
For me, there was a level of expectation where, even though the environment was not what I'm used to, it never detoured me. As I said before, there was just this level of expectation. Like, I knew once we get to church, we're going to meet God here.
Amen.
We're never going to leave the same way we came in. And so because of that, it was never a day when I felt like put jean skirt on and a T-shirt and go to church. I dressed for church like I'm going to the biggest church ever. We walked in. I remember walking in, and even Pastor and my husband would laugh and say, like, where do they think they're going? Dressing up so fancy to come to this place where the smell is not right. When it's winter, we have to keep the winter jackets on. We have to keep the kids in the jacket. And as my husband said, the stove was the heater and the pulpit, multi-purpose. And we didn't have music. We didn't have mic. We didn't have a praise team. And I remember days when we would start singing and clapping, and my husband would use his feet as the drum.
Amen.
So that raised up a lot of dust. All that old dirty dust, every smell that was under there started coming up. Everything just started coming up. But the authentic presence of God was always with us. As he said, Pastor preached and he taught with such passion. So it's never a day that we left there being empty, feeling like we didn't go to church. We were lacking because we were not in, this nice big environment where the pews are padded. So for me, I knew God had somewhere else to take us, but that was just the beginning, because some point in time, somebody's going to need to hear how we started so they too can get on their journey.
Amen. This is a beautiful story. So I'm sure you're not the only ones who started out with him, but you're the only ones besides Brother Shane and his wife who is here. So you've been a part of this ministry for 14 years. The growth, pastor have grown, the church have grown. What was this process like for you, overcoming every challenge with him, trusting him even though you don't see any results? You guys are coming here, showing up, no results, nothing, but you still come and you trust him. You stood by him. How was that experience for you over the 14 years?
Good and bad, if I can put it that way. It's never easy to lose in anything that you're trying to accomplish or building. And being here from the very first day we had a service, seeing the miraculous hands of God being manifested in that same service of healing, Pastor Williams from the poison in his body that he spoke about in his interview. It was a lot of ups and downs where your heart breaks every time somebody has to leave. And it depends on the reason they're leaving or whatever it is that got a hold of them, whether they're backslidden from the faith or moved on somewhere else, it's always a heartbreak, because you know that, listen, these are people I grew up with, I bond with, I develop a relationship with, and it's like a brother or a sister biologically leaving the home, and sometimes you don't get to see them again. You know, the bond is not the same, the friendship is not the same, but over the years, I've watched how Pastor Williams have allowed God just to mold him and to take him from one level of dedication to another. And he might not know this, but his strength has spoken so much to me in my personal life that it gives me hope to trust God. Because when I look at him as a leader, being at the head, like a father in the home, and you see your child leaving out of the home, and it's breaking your heart, but you still have to be there as a father to the rest of those that are there. It gives me strength. Him trusting God and just saying, whatever it is that is going on, he will continue. Then it gives me faith to continue as well.
With him, awesome. But always in your experience, the process.
At times it was challenging. However, what I tend to lean to are just fundamental instructions that he gave from the get-go. He always encouraged us to, have a personal relationship with God. Trust in God. Don't just lean on man. Because a lot of people, I say this with all humility, you can be in an environment and you can be in love with a man in that environment, but not the God. You know what I'm saying? So it's something personally where I've seen he has emphatically preached it in us. Like, listen, have a personal relationship, with God. Don't be a catch-up. Don't lean on, because if people shift, if people turn, you will turn. So it's good to establish yourself, be rooted, be grounded in God, so you know where you stand, where you are. So no matter what comes your way, you know what I'm saying, you're going to stand. Discouraging days will come. If I sit here and tell you that there weren't days, you felt discouraged, there weren't days you felt lonely, there weren't days, you know what I'm saying, but at the same time, you understand the responsibility that's laid on you. And something else that he put in my head a long time ago was that, real growth, when you know that a person is really growing, how they handle challenges, right? How they handle situation. And I oftentimes say, 90% of a situation is not the situation, it's how you handle it. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's your whole response to it. So, I always try to govern myself that way, not to operate from an emotional aspect or I would say emotional, aspect of my life, but try to process stuff. I'm the type of person, if I don't know what to do, I just don't do anything. I try to wait on God. And just to wrap it up, one of the things too, it's going to sound a little crazy, but how he invested in us in like learning a skill, a trade. That's another topic, but that's something that really helped me, because I remember there were times when I felt like I wanted to quit. And, just, being resilient and sticking to a plan and, just staying close to the process, I can see where my life has transformed, and it has been a blessing. So that's something that kind of ministered to me too along the way. I don't just look for the now. I keep my eye on the bigger picture. So that's something that really kind of helped.
That's good. And I'm liking how you guys are still here, because sometimes when others see other people leaving, they would want to follow them. But what you guys did, you stood by him, trust the process, and kept going. Now, for your relationship, You guys were married before, Pastor. Marriage and ministry goes hand in hand. That was before he started pastoring. You guys are already married. So marriage and ministry, they go together, right? How has serving together in ministry impacted your relationship as a couple? What have you learned about each other through this journey?
You want to go first? I would say it's everything. To me, I maybe I'll keep this one personal, but to me, to us, I would say it's everything. That is the reason why we protect our marriage the way we do. We're very intentional in our approach because we understand marriage is really a ministry. And a lot of people don't understand until you're ready or prepared to minister to the man or woman of God. It's best you leave it alone. Because we kind of demean marriage a lot of times to just the, excitement, the tangibles, the little stuff that you can just enjoy. But it's bigger than that. Every day we look at our marriage in the sense of when we wake up, whatever we do, we're ministering. The way our demeanor, how we speak, how we carry ourselves, how we relate to each other, how we communicate. Those are big things for us. And it's not to say put on a show, but we understand the institution of marriage and how honorable it is and, how God designed it, for it to be. So, and after a while you start realizing because you start to see lives, you start impacting. And for me, with my wife, I always tell people, I can speak to somebody's spouse for 5 minutes and I could tell you exactly what kind of marriage you have, what kind of life you have, because your spouse, whether it be the male or the female, is an extension of you. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I really try to, not just protect, but to build on it, to make it be a part. And it becomes so easy in doing the work of the Lord because when you have someone that understands what God is doing through you in both ways, it's just about complementing it, building on it, being honest with each other. Like with my wife, she's my best and most honest critique. She's going to tell me the truth. You know what I'm saying? So, having that kind of mindset where it's not a tug of war, it's not a struggle. You're tying to the vision. It's not like one person say, I have this great aspiration, and then you say, okay, I'm just here to just go along with the flow. No, she's in it. And once she understands God is, leading it, she's just ready and open for that process that God has for us.
Beautiful.
Honesty, respect, and submission. And I wasn't always the easiest person to deal with. But the more I submitted, not to my husband, but to God, he taught me how to submit to the man that he gave to me. So being in ministry together, having and seeing God leading my husband, as he said, we try our best to be intentional. I'm very, very intentional about him, my home, my children. I pray for them more than I pray for myself, which probably sometimes somebody would say that's not good. But I understand the role of leadership, and I understand the role of ministry. And it becomes easy when I see the Lord working through my husband. It becomes easier for me to submit, to follow, to respect him more. And so it wasn't always where, it's just this blooming flower. But as he mentioned, there's nothing that goes on in our relationship, whether it's a disagreement or anything that we take outside of the relationship. So we're intentional about that, knowing that, listen, because you see it look good, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have struggles. It does, but there has to be a level of respect, commitment. You have to submit yourself to what God is doing. And for us, it made marriage and ministry so compatible till you can't even tell the difference, because we really are ministering to people through the life that we live in the marital union.
That's beautiful. I'm learning. Take notes, everybody. Take notes. Not because you're upset with your husband, you're going to file a divorce or you're going to tell everybody. It's just a moment of a little hiccup. So don't bring it outside the home. So take notes, okay? Supporting pastor, right? Especially from the beginning. What's something about pastor that people may not see, but that you've experienced personally? You'll probably touch on it a little bit, but I want you just to, because a lot of people just see him as this strong, always praying, faithful man. They don't even know half of the things he goes through. Some people don't even know he's a person. And I'm going to be honest with you. They call him with problem. They don't think they need to pray for him because he's always praying. They don't think they need to call him and encourage him because he's always encouraging people. They don't think that at some point he gets weak or low or feeling. So something that you've experienced personally that people may not know about a pastor during this journey.
You want to go first?
I would start by saying that I was going to say he's a person. But then you already took
right.
that. But he has this jovial side to him that a lot of people don't get to experience, because when they see him, and if you're just meeting him, the first thing that comes off to you is that, oh my God. If you're not holy, don't go near him. If you're not living, his whole demeanor gives the righteousness of God, like, watch yourself now. But getting to know him, getting to, and I believe how you get to know him is when you get to know God. The closer you get with God is the more you get from pastor. And that's something that a lot of people who even shy away from him, afraid of him, doesn't understand. They will feel like, oh, there's a favoritism going on here. No, it's not. The more your relationship grows with the Lord, is the closer bond you're going to have with him, because he as, how do I say this? He has involved himself so much with God. So anything that is collaborating with God, he's going to be a part of it. Yeah. But he has this side to him where he laughs, he jokes. Many people can't believe that happens, but he's a very sweet person. He's not just always stern and listen, the Lord said, and he has his human side where he's down to earth. You can talk to him, you can joke with him, he's a good guy.
And before you answer, minister, a lot of times when pastors are jovial and nice, people don't know how to deal with it, so they don't get it. And if he tries to be jovial with you one time and then he realizes, you can't handle it, you're not going to experience it. Right. So, just take notes with that. You could go ahead, minister.
Yes. So my wife, she put it perfectly well. He has this thing about him that when you love the Lord and you align yourself with God, it's like you automatically gets his attention. And that's when he starts to get in a little bit relaxed, in a sense where, because when he understands that the same spirit that leads him got a hold of you and leads you, it puts him in a zone where he doesn't have to be that, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that I've really observed about him. Another thing too I've realized, he knows how to balance. In the sense where people might think he's stern, but I believe one thing, as a leader, as a pastor, there has to be lines of demarcation. You can't, if you laugh with everybody, joke with everybody, be everybody's friend, you can't be everybody's leader. It's not going to work. And that's something that personally, I know, he teaches it, but something personally, he have instilled that in me, that familiarity, it really brings contempt. And if you as a leader, if you're seeing eye to eye with everybody else, you're not really a leader. So how are you going to see, down the line to really lead? Yeah. So you're going to have moments where, you're going to, I wouldn't say break your walls down, but you're going to, there's going to be some sort of accessibility, but you have to be mindful still. Yeah. Because you cannot afford to get too familiar. And 90% of people, I'm a percentage guy, so I'll use that, but a lot of people can't handle that. No. The minute you start getting a little too familiar, they take it as a license to say, okay, we are this and we are that and we are XYZ. That's something that I don't believe in. You got to always remember who is who and what is what. And once you can handle that too, that will kind of give you a little bit more access to him. You know what I'm saying? But that's something I observe about him, being this long around. Good.
As we're going to move on to asking and giving advice to couples who are serving in ministry. But before we move on to that, I heard a preacher said, you and your pastor are not friends. Your pastor is not your friend. So a lot of times we get the wrong idea when he starts to laugh and joke. He's not your friend. He's there for your soul, and he's there to lead you, not for you to get all comfortable, too comfortable. You have to be careful and mindful of that. So for couples who are newer to the church and are unsure about serving, what advice or encouragement would you give them based on your experience?
Pray together. Develop a prayer life with your partner, your husband, your wife, and make sure that when you guys are praying together, then the Lord will speak. So there won't be a tug of war where the brother is trying to go left and the sister is trying to go right. One is hearing God say we should go and the other is hearing one say God we should come. But we are both united. So when we are praying and staying in tune, touching God in agreement, then the Lord will lead both of you what to do, how to serve, direct you on how to go about his business.
Thank you.
I would say I would tell any married couple just starting out, be committed, be intentional. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I see where, it's easy to start something. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of couples, with great potential start out. People, even while looking back, I thought like, these people have even more potential than me. Like, they have so much potential. But for some strange reason, it's so easy to be distracted. It's so easy to get comfortable. And, sometimes I always tell people, you got to grow with your gift. Because Pastor taught me this, something that I record. I have it on my tablet. I didn't throw it away. He spoke about character versus charisma. Mm-hmm. And he said that your charisma can take you anywhere, but it's your character that keeps you there.
Yes, I remember that.
And that was something that really stuck out to me. Mm-hmm. A long time ago, that you have to make sure that you build that character around whatever God is doing with you, whatever gift, whatever call you have to maintain that character, because if you don't have character, you're just a gifted rebel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that you have to really take serious. As my wife made mention before, you have to have that connection spiritually and physically. You can't be tugging left and one. I've never got up one day and wrestled with my wife to go to church. Never. Never happened one day. Never. And I realized it's something that when you live that life, my kids develop the same thing. I've never got up one day and my kids say, oh, I can't go to church, I have to go to school. Or not even, no. They're so serious. It's that seed in them, something. Maybe they don't fully understand what they need to understand, but just planting that seed, getting the good habits going in them. And, you know, when the fullness of time come later on, everything will just come to a manifestation. But as a couple, we're intentional with how we set example, because sometimes you don't know whose life you're impacting. And, you know, my latter years now, I have the wonderful opportunity of people expressing themselves. You know what I'm saying? So it brings my mind back. What if you had done this or done that or made that decision? Or what if you had given up? You don't know who's looking at you. It could be from afar. I've been in conferences and people who I look up to greatly, they would say, you know what, you don't understand how your wife and you and how much. I'm like, me? I look up to you, like, you know what I'm saying? So you don't know. So you can't just live your life casually thinking that, you know what I'm saying? But hand in hand, I believe a man, 50% of a man's ministry, it starts with his wife.
Amen.
Believe it or not. And a lot of men don't really take that seriously. They look at it like, okay, I'm going to do what I do, and then everybody just come along. You're just accessory to the fact. No. You know what I'm saying? You are the leader, but you have to make sure that you establish these things in the home from earth. Bring them along with you. Get your wife involved, your children involved, because at the end of the day, if you get to here and they're all the way down here, it's going to put some strain on where God is taking you, and it's going to create a halt. So it's very important working together in ministry.
So that means if you're not married, you need to get a wife. And you need to get a husband, because there's a balance. You know, you doing it by yourself, it's okay. But when you have somebody with you, you know, it's better when two, when I like it. The Bible says better when it's two of you. All right? So bear that in mind. Finally, looking back, right, at 14 years of ministry and growth, what does it mean to you as a couple to still be here? What are your hopes and prayers for the next chapter of this church? I like this. They're looking at, honey, you take it. They're like, no, you take it, honey. And I'm like, okay, anyone of you can go first.
Right. Being here for 14 years, it's a miracle. And I said that not just lightly, but to know the amount of challenges, you know, the fights, the ups, the downs, the discouragement, and it's the miraculous hand of God why I'm still here. There were discouraging days when I even asked my husband to move out of state. That may seem as a shock to some people, but to anybody under pressure, there comes a time when you literally feel like, I can't do this no more. This is just too exhausting. It's too much for one person to bear. And I remember when he looked me in the eye and said, I'm not here because I want to be here. I am here because the Lord sent me here to be a help to Pastor Demetri. And I humbled myself, and I stood by him. I stood with him, and I continued. And I must say that to God be the glory. Today, seeing what the Lord has done, the many lives that have been changed, the impact that Apostolic Tabernacle of Irvington has brought to so many people near and far. Now we are not just foreign, but we, you know, not just domestic. We are also we are foreign land. Yes. And, you know, so many people look up to this church, looking up to us, praying for them, looking to hear the preach word, looking to tune into Bible study just to hear the teach word that God is going to send through his servants. And I can truly say I am blessed to be a part of ATI. I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And for all the struggles, for all the hard times, for all the discouraging moments, the Lord has taught me so many lessons. So I didn't just go through them for a show or to show that I was weak or I was giving up. But I learned valuable lessons, what caused me to be even the woman I am today. And For that reason, my intentions and my prayers for this ministry will continue to serve in whatever capacity the Lord allow me to serve. I will just abide by the will of God and just submit my ways to him. Because after 14 years, I have seen the miraculous hands of God and know that there is nothing that he cannot do. There's no deep waters he can't allow you to cross. There is no sickness he can't heal. There is no demon that he cannot cast out. We have seen it all in this church after 14 years. So my determination is just to continue. My prayer is that we will be strengthened and continue to do that which the Lord will have us to do, that others may come and their lives can be made change through this ministry.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question for you, but I'll let Minister answer first. His vision for the next chapter of this church.
Vision for the next chapter. I think my life is self-explanatory in the sense we're seeing what God has done through Pastor here and how the transformation that I've seen and the many lives that have been touched. I think it's somewhat laid on us to impact lives. I remember him saying this. I keep saying stuff like this, but just recollection. You know, his true success is when he have invested in someone and he see the fruit start coming out and you start, being the person that he desire for you to be. And I've seen where God have really transformed our lives. And our biggest aim is to pay it forward. What he has done through us, because we sitting here, we weren't always like this. We're coming from, teenagers, and now I wouldn't say we're seasoned, but we're marinating. So I've seen how God have developed us through him. And, he cannot do it by himself. So we personally feel like it's our responsibility to really be the strongest support system, what I'm saying, this church can ever have, and just to align ourselves with God to make this thing be, because it's bigger than us. It's greater than us. And the vision is so vast. When we just came to Irvington, it was just focusing on the city, but the vision have expanded so much now where we're looking at the world at large. You know what I'm saying? And as the scripture said, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, neither have it entered into the heart of men. What he's really going to do through us. And I get a glimpse of that because I know there's nothing he have ever done that I've never seen come to fruition. Nothing at all. Amen. And that's one thing that gives me confidence too. I oftentimes say it, I'm just excited to see, what God is going to do. Because if a rough man like me can be transformed, because I was really rough around the edges, I believe there's hope for many. So as my wife said before, we're just excited. We're just as best as possible every day, just positioning ourselves, aligning ourselves to create such an impact, through this city, this state, the world at large, to let people know that, it's possible.
Amen, amen. Beautiful. So, the ladies' ministry is run by Minister Phil. The prayer department is run by Minister Felicia Wilson. She wears many hats, many hats. She does many things. Even whatever ministry she's not a part of leading, she's still doing something in that ministry. Some of the outfits that we wear, she makes them. So she just don't want us to have a spiritual life. She wants us to look good in our physical self, hat, whatever it is. So she's well-rounded in this church. When you look around in this building, Minister Wilson, that's Minister Ayawlae Wilson, he makes sure Pastor doesn't have to come and do tiles. Pastor doesn't have to come and lift a pin if he doesn't want to. If you come and see Pastor doing something, it's by choice. But Minister Wilson is doing an awesome job. Because if you watch us, you see how beautiful our church is. So they're not just here, just standing by him, but they're working. They're heavily involved in everything. He plays the bass, he ministers, he does Bible studies when Pastor asks him. So as a couple and as leaders in the church, on behalf of Pastor and First Lady, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for your faithfulness, your loyalty, for standing by him, believing in the vision. When everybody else walks away, you guys stood by him, and that's very, very important. If you could just stand, throughout everything is happening, just stand. Just go through that little pain for that moment and just stand, okay? So I want to thank you both for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's clear that your faith, love for one another, and unwavering commitment to this ministry have played a decisive role in shaping the hearts of this church. And we're looking for people like Minister Wilson's just to stand by him, because if God gives him a vision, he's going to send help. So if you don't want to stand, he's going to keep sending people. So might as well you stand to reap from that tree that he spoke about in his interview, that tree that's going to bear fruit, because I want to be a part of that tree. I want to be a part of reaping. So I'm sowing. Are you going to sow? Just stay by the man of God. Thank you for being here, for celebrating 14 years with Apostolic Tabernacle of Irvington. We moved from 192 19th Avenue, Irvington, New Jersey, and now we're here at 26 Spain Avenue, Irvington, New Jersey. And God is doing an awesome job. And we're going to move to that big church that we have on the wall that says the future ATI. So if you want to be a part of the future ATI, come, stay with us. Trust God, trust the man of God, and we'll have a happy, vibrant, and full of life church and spiritual home. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kathy Risden, Sister Tisha for you. Continue to enjoy the rest of the anniversary. God bless you.
There you have it. I hope this story was impactful for you. I hope this lets you understand what you're a part of. This is not a hurry come up ministry. This ministry was built out of blood, sweat, and tears, faith, prayer, and determination. With your help and continuous faith and prayers and monetary contribution, our future ATI can unfold right in front of our eyes. So thank you on behalf of our pastor and first lady, to all the ministers, elders, workers, and saints alike. We thank you for contributing to this noble institution. Without you, it would not be possible. Today, we have grown. We are big. We are vibrant. We are full of life. And we're celebrating 14 years of ministry. And we're looking forward in celebrating many, many more years to come. Together for life. See ya.